The new moral code that Keynes envisaged is different from the one that Clement women prefigure. For the former, it is a code that honors the lily of the field who toil not, neither do they spin. For the latter, it is a code honoring people who work for communities and for people needing care. Third, Clement women knew what is needed for women's liberation is not just handed money but autonomy, which Keynes seems not to understand. Let me quote from Keynes. Quote, "We already have a little experience of what I mean, a nervous breakdown of the thought which is already common enough in England and the United States amongst the wives of well-to-do classes. Unfortunate women, many of them who have been deprived of their wealth and their traditional tasks of occupations, who cannot find it sufficiently amusing, when deprived of supervision and necessity, to cook and clean and mend, yet are quite unable to find anything more amusing." End quote. According to Keynes' diagnosis, those women suffered because they are free. Clement women, along with other women in the women's liberation movement, thought those women were not yet free from patriarchal moral code and practice that confined them. Finally, they themselves were a living counterexample against the naive hypothesis that technological progress reduces working hours. Many people, including economists, have argued that technological progress in housework reduces women's unpaid working hours at home, making it possible for them to participate in the wage labor market. Many of those working class women were themselves a counterexample. Many of them could not afford such new household appliances, but entered the labor market much earlier than middle-class women who could afford those appliances. Many women in the movement told me that their participation in the wage labor market was nothing related to technological progress in the household appliances. This point is backed by the academic study by a historian of technology. According to that historian, Cowan, in the case of the United States, technological progress in household appliances did not reduce hours of unpaid work conducted by housewives. Why? According to Cowan, first, quote, "The technological systems that present dominate our household were built on the assumption that the full-time housewife would be operating them." End quote. Second, there are many of the rules that tyrannize housewives. Cowan suggests that while those rules are unconscious and therefore potent, quote, "By exploring their history, we can bring these rules into consciousness and thereby dilute their potency. We can then decide whether they are truly useful or merely the product of atavism or of an advertiser's accent, whether they are agent of oppression or of liberation." End quote. So, what can we say now? As shown in the third on the slide, we could distinguish 5 types of work. These categories are socially determined. The amount of work in each category would be surely affected by technological progress, but also would be socially constructed. What kind of technological progress we would have is also socially determined. Certainly, there is something intuitively attractive in the technological progress argument for UBI, and we have freedom to make that case. However, we could make the case more accurately from what we can learn from the grassroots feminist movement for UBI, such that we could fight our struggle in a more constructive way. Thank you very much.
Toru, how are you doing? Can you hear me okay?
Hello, Taylor. Hello, Taylor. 你们好。
We have a few questions, and sorry we called you a little late. We're running a little bit behind. Are you able to see the Slido questions?
Questions.
So I can read them to you, no problem. So the first question that we have is there any data to indicate the rate of employment reduction since industrialization? Some say the new jobs are created at the same time, not even less. And I would add to that, do you think that the next phase of technological innovation will be different than in the past with regards to employment, and if so, why?
Well, I don't have the data at this moment, but whole argument for technological progress case for UBI derived of technological development is solely only variable for determining amount of job or employment in the world, but reality isn't. And either government or all of us, or community or capitalism could create either job or employment far detached from need of our society or the growth.
And the next question here, and I'm curious about this. So we saw this in a more Western context with feminism. What about feminism in Japan? What is the basic income movement composition in your country?
Well, in 1970s or from late 1960s, we the women's liberation movement. Its content or radicalization is almost the same as like Britain, or Italy, or any other part of Europe and North America. But the number of mobilization is far less compared to Europe, for example. And women's liberation movement in Japan at the time didn't demand basic income. And there's a couple of reasons. It's not, they are not radical enough. It's not like they don't see the future. Not like that. Our situation at them is so different from Europe. For example, in Europe, especially in my case of presentation in Britain, they already have universal benefit, which is called child benefit. But we Japan, we didn't have it. So for women's liberation movement activists in Britain, it is relatively easier to foresee the basic income will be possible. But activists in Japan, it's hard to see it. So that those conditions are different. But now, that kind of difference became shorter and smaller. And there are several prominent feminists who are in favor of basic income in Japan. Well, the feminist camp is divided between pro-basic income and anti-basic income. It's almost the same in any section of the social movement in Japan. There are fascinated people for basic income. On the one hand, there are also some are skeptical or some are fully against. That's the situation.
So I want to kind of elaborate on that. In the Japanese-specific context, how would a universal basic income affect gender relations in Japan? What do you think it would change between perhaps politically, business-wise, or even interpersonally?
Well, recently it's changed, but it's changing. But at least when I was a child in 1970s, 80s, the one of common word, tired husband when came back from the work to the home, or when children or wife complain about something, the word who ends the conversation is, who is earning the money in this household? That kind of word always when a husband wants to shut their dependent mouths use. Well, if we introduce basic income, such a kind of conversation cease to exist. So, firstly, it could undermine remaining patriarchy in Japan. And also, now it's all dependent, like some people who don't earn enough money to live his or her own. Those people can expression of a voice, it's not only affect patriarchy in family, but also it affects the bargaining power in the so-called labor market. So it could change our custom and system of so-called labor market.
Can you describe, also maybe in the Japanese context, how does UBI redefine work? What is the current social situation for working in Japan now, and how would UBI change that?
Well, for this side, yes, I'm working in the university as a professor, and our colleague tended to say to our students, when you will enter society, that means when you graduate university and grab a job as a full-time, that's the meaning. So if you're a student, if you are not full-time worker, if you are in the family for caring others, you are not in the society. That's how majority of Japanese people conceive of society. But it's far from the reality. Where you are in the university for learning something, or where you are in the family inside the house to care a dependent, or where you are in the community to do some community work as a voluntary, all these are vital functions of our society. So those prevailing, the very narrow concept of work, the change work. In order to change those things, we need basic income. So, and I don't think without the mobilization, those people who are in the community work, or the care work, when those people really want to change those systems, we can succeed to implement basic income in our society.
And we asked this of some of the other scholars. What is the cultural reaction to the idea of universal basic income? What have people said to you in Japanese society at different, class levels, social status levels? What is the reaction from Japanese society?
Yes, we were, not only me, many other my friends, fellow advocates for UBI, all of us